Welcome to today's deep dive. We've got our hands on a truly fascinating artifact for you to explore with us. Today is Tuesday, March 10th, 2026, and we are looking at a comprehensive digital class log from an advanced English conversations course.
Right, and specifically, this is Class T250 from Academia BSB, which is an online English school with a really unique approach to communication skills.
Yeah, it totally is. And our student today is Mireilly. She's an 18-year-old actress from the Brazilian Midwest, Mato Grosso do Sul, and she's actually about to move to the state of Minas Gerais to start her freshman year in journalism at UFMG.
Which is a huge transition.
Mm.
Moving from the Midwest of Brazil to Minas Gerais is, well, it's culturally significant. It's almost like moving from, say, Texas to Boston in the U.S. The accents change, the local slang changes, the whole vibe is different.
Exactly. It's a huge life event. And before we get into the meat of her lesson, we have to announce the gamification points. At our school, students earn points for their activities to win cool monthly giveaways like mugs and T-shirts.
It really keeps the momentum going.
It totally does. So for Mireilly, her stars won today is a whopping 64 stars.
That is fantastic. Huge congratulations to Mireilly for hitting 64 stars. It shows real dedication to the platform.
Okay, let's unpack this, because our mission for you today is to explore how this single language lesson weaves together the physical mechanics of new tech gadgets, high-level business idioms, and the very real, often hidden psychological hurdles of public speaking.
Which is crucial, because we want to show you how mastering a language isn't just about memorizing a dictionary. It's about learning entirely new ways to conceptualize the world around you.
I totally agree, and I want to test that idea right out of the gate, because the main reading material from Mireilly's class is actually an Engadget article published today by managing editor Sherilyn Lowe.
Right, reviewing a brand new device.
Yeah, it details a new gadget from the company Shark called the Chill Pill. The description of this device is incredibly specific. It's a $150 3-in-1 personal cooling system, and the reviewer describes it as looking kind of like a strange, modern pair of binoculars.
It's a very evocative image for a language learner.
It really is. It has 2 tubes connected via an inch-long rotating silver hinge, and one half can swivel a full 180 degrees.
What's fascinating here is how the class notes use this specific tech review to teach incredibly practical, descriptive English. For instance, the reviewer notes that the hinge clicks firmly into place.
Which seems like a pretty standard phrase for a tech review, right? So why highlight that specifically for a language learner?
Because it conveys sound, physical sensation, and mechanical function all at once. If you're trying to master English, understanding how native speakers use adverbs like firmly to describe a mechanical action is huge. It helps the learner build a mental model of the language.
Oh, I see.
And then there's the detail about the lock switch on the smaller tube. The reviewer points out that this switch ensures the device doesn't accidentally turn on in a cluttered purse.
A cluttered purse. That is such a relatable image. So it takes the abstract idea of a lock switch and grounds it in an everyday scenario. You don't just learn the word cluttered, you visualize the exact messy environment where that word applies.
Precisely. The visual context anchors the vocabulary perfectly.
Let's look at what this gadget actually does, because it's a great example of hyperbolic marketing language, which the class also breaks down. The larger tube takes these 3 different attachments, or caps, as Shark calls them.
Right, the different modes.
Yeah, so first you have the high-speed fan cap. The reviewer notes that this thing gets so powerful at its top level, I think it has 10 distinct speeds, that it felt like a mini cyclone in her hand.
Mini cyclone. Again, that's brilliant descriptive imagery for a learner to absorb. It teaches them how English speakers use dramatic natural phenomena to describe consumer electronics.
But isn't there a risk that a learner might, take that literally?
That's exactly why it's an advanced class, A beginner might be confused by mini cyclone, but an advanced learner is learning the art of exaggeration. They are learning the cultural tone of tech journalism.
That makes total sense. Then there's the second attachment, the dry touch mist cap. It has a little tank with a wick, and you fill it with potable tap water.
And the instructions are very strict about only using water, right?
Yeah, repeatedly warning the user not to use oils or fragrances. Now, the reviewer was understandably skeptical here, thinking it would be too wet or ruin her makeup, but she found the resulting cool air and mist surprisingly refreshing without soaking her face.
It's the third attachment, though, where the text really elevates itself from a simple gadget review into a study of human behavior. Shark calls it the Insta-Chill cooling plate. The tech essentially gives you a super cold metal surface on demand.
Which sounds amazing for a hot day.
It does. Naturally, you might use it after a hot yoga session, or maybe if you're running to the subway in the middle of a humid summer. But the reviewer did something entirely unexpected. She set the plate to the lower chill setting and rubbed it all over her face to calm her nerves before a high-stakes call with her boss.
That stuck out to me too. She explicitly mentioned that while she wasn't completely relaxed, she was definitely a lot less strung out than she would have been without it.
And look at what's happening pedagogically. The lesson cleverly introduces nuanced vocabulary about state of mind by connecting physical cooling to emotional regulation.
Strung out is such a great phrase.
It really is. The physical act of applying cold to the skin was used to manage anxiety. For a student like Mireilly, she's not just memorizing the phrase strung out from a flashcard, she's seeing a real-world physical coping mechanism described in her target language.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, the tech review is essentially a Trojan horse. It lures the student in with a flashy $150 gadget, but the real lesson is about expressing complex emotional states and evaluating practical flaws.
Exactly. And the review doesn't shy away from those flaws. The writer complains that for $150, Shark didn't include any accessories. There's no carrying case, no crossbody strap.
Which is a bit ridiculous for that price.
Truly. She also mentions a very specific tactile issue. The half of the device with the power button gets a bit slick or greasy over time, making it slippery to hold.
Slick! That's another highly specific sensory word.
Yes, but she ultimately concludes that it's a great, albeit pricey, gift, especially for hot, humid climates like Singapore, which is where the reviewer happens to be from.
It really is a masterclass in reading for practical understanding. It teaches the student how to weigh financial value against practical flaws like a slick surface. Okay, we are going to take a really quick break right here to let that sink in, but don't go anywhere.
We will be right back with more of this deep dive.
And we are back. Welcome back to the deep dive. Just to quickly recap what we covered before the break, we've been looking at how Academia BSB uses a tech review of the Shark Chill Pill to teach advanced vocabulary like cluttered, mini cyclone, and strung out.
And as we always do after a break, it's time for a tongue twister to practice that new vocabulary. Ready?
Oh, I'm so ready. Lay it on me.
The slick silver switch swivels swiftly.
Oh, wow. Okay. The slick silver switch swivels swiftly.
Perfect. Say it 3 times fast, and your pronunciation muscles will definitely get a workout.
The slick silver switch swivels swiftly. The slick silver switch... Nope, I lost it. Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because the class doesn't just stop at the physical mechanics of a consumer product. It takes that concept of evaluating how things work and pushes the student into how business works.
Which is a very natural transition.
Yeah, the lesson moves Mireilly right into C1 level idiomatic expressions.
For those listening who might not be familiar with the terminology, C1 refers to an advanced tier of language proficiency. It's the common European framework of reference for languages. It's the level where you aren't just surviving in the language, you aren't just ordering coffee or asking for directions. At C1, you're expected to master the nuances, the slang, and the professional jargon.
Right. And in this case, the jargon is the vocabulary of business and disruption. The class notes highlight specific phrases that are absolutely essential in the modern corporate world. Terms like cutting edge, which describes the most advanced stage of technological innovation.
Or to disrupt the market, which means fundamentally changing traditional industry structures.
Yeah.
And, of course, game changer, referring to something that radically transforms how a situation operates.
I love those terms. Let's actually do a quick role play to show how these are used in context. I'll be pitching a new idea, and you be the skeptical boss.
All right, I'm ready. Pitch me.
Boss, our new software is truly cutting edge. It has the potential to completely disrupt the market and change how we do logistics.
Well, it sounds ambitious, but is it really a game changer or just a minor upgrade to what we already have?
See? That's exactly how it sounds in a real boardroom.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals something quite funny about the English language. Especially in business, we constantly use spatial and physical metaphors to describe abstract success.
Yes. The class teaches the idioms ahead of the curve and to stay ahead of the competition. You are physically placed in front of others in this linguistic framework, but then, literally, in the next breath, they contrast that with the difficulty of a steep learning curve.
It's a linguistic contradiction that must be maddening for a learner. You're supposed to be ahead of a curve, but you're also climbing a steep curve. A steep learning curve implies an uphill battle, a physical exertion required to gain knowledge.
It's so true.
But these idioms aren't just colorful phrases. They are the required lexicon for the modern global economy.
Let's look at some of the other phrases they cover. If a company wants to scale up, meaning expand their operations, or if a new fintech app wants to gain traction, which, by the way, is a phrase literally rooted in the physical grip of a tire on a road. They must first deliver on its promise.
Understanding these idioms is what bridges the gap for a language learner. It takes them from basic fluency to possessing true professional authority.
Professional authority, that's a good one.
And authority is another key vocabulary word they focus on in this lesson. To have credibility and influence in a boardroom. You can't just have good ideas, you have to speak the language of the boardroom. You have to know how to suggest that the team needs to think outside the box.
Another spatial metaphor.
Exactly.
But acquiring that secret code takes a toll. You can know what think outside the box means intellectually, but actually saying it out loud in a room full of native speakers is a completely different challenge. And we are going to dive into the psychology of that challenge right after this short break.
Stick with us.
Welcome back. We are deep diving into Academia BSB's class T215 notes for an 18-year-old student named Mireilly. Before the break, we covered some intense C1 business idioms like cutting edge, disrupt, and game changer.
Which means it is time for our second tongue twister.
Let's hear it.
Clever cutting-edge companies catch the curve.
Clever cutting-edge companies catch the curve. That one is actually a bit easier for me.
It's good practice for those hard C consonant sounds.
Well, getting back to the notes, acquiring this language takes real vulnerability. And that brings us to the most vulnerable part of these class notes, the pronunciation and speaking exercise. It's based on an essay titled, "If the Screen Doesn't Scream, the Story Won't Stream."
This section is truly remarkable. The narrative follows a character who is a freshman at the Federal University of Minas Gerais in Brazil. She dreams of working as a journalist in a non-traditional media startup.
And what's clever is that this isn't just a random story chosen for reading practice, is it?
Not at all. It's a brilliantly designed pedagogical mirror. The character in the story is fighting the exact same battle the ESL student is fighting the anxiety of speaking English publicly.
It's so meta.
It really is. In fact, anxiety is one of the target pronunciation words from a past class that they were reviewing here. The character wants to publish short news reports on YouTube, and she has to convince herself that if her information is clear and accessible, viewers will stay on the screen even if her accent is still evolving.
The vulnerability of that situation is intense, and the text is rigged with these incredible phonetic minefields. It's specifically designed to trip up non-native speakers. I'm looking at the exact pairs they highlight in the text. Let me read them. Small versus smell. Chill versus chew. Bottle versus bottom. Scream versus screen. And though versus thought.
Those vowel and consonant pairings are notoriously difficult depending on your native tongue's phonetic rules. If you are listening to us right now, try an experiment. Say the word bottle out loud. Notice where your tongue goes. It flicks up behind your top front teeth to make that L sound.
Bottle, yep.
Now say bottom. Your lips have to press together to form the M.
Okay, I'm doing it now. Bottle, bottom. It's completely automatic for me.
Right, because you're a native English speaker. But if your native language doesn't typically end words with those hard consonant sounds, your brain literally hasn't mapped the neural pathways to tell your lips to close at the end of that specific vowel cluster. It's not a memory issue, it's a physiological hurdle.
So imagine how terrifying it is for this character, this budding journalist, to worry about mixing up chill and chew on a live broadcast. She jokes in the text that the audience might pause the video just to analyze every strange sound she makes. It's the fear of being misunderstood, or worse, looking foolish.
But notice her coping mechanism.
Yeah.
She tells herself that if she simply reads her notes from the screen and hits record, the fear slowly dissolves. It's a psychological exercise as much as a linguistic one.
Wow, that's heavy. We have one more quick break to take, and when we come back, we're going to look at the hard data behind this struggle.
Don't go away.
And we are back for the final segment of our deep dive. We just wrapped up talking about phonetic minefields like small versus smell and chill versus chew.
Which brings us to our final tongue twister of the day.
Hit me.
Small smells chill the chewing bottom of the bottle.
Oh, that's just cruel. Small smells chill the chewing bottom of the bottle. That really forces you to articulate every single ending consonant.
It does. And that physical struggle ties directly into the class stats provided at the very end of the document. The software platform tracks the student's progress, noting a vocabulary growth of 21 words in this session alone. But it also tracks something called an intense phonetic deviation ratio of 253%.
Let's pause on that. Phonetic deviation ratio of 253%. What does that actually mean in plain English?
Essentially, the online school software listens to the students speak and compares their sound wave to the sound wave of a native speaker. A deviation ratio of 253% means the student's pronunciation was wildly fluctuating.
So they were basically all over the place.
Exactly. It shows you that language learning is an incredibly messy, vulnerable, and deeply physical process. You are quite literally retraining your facial muscles, your tongue, and your vocal cords to make shapes and sounds they have never made before. That high deviation ratio isn't a failure. It's the digital footprint of a student who is struggling, trying, failing, and trying again in real time to overcome those phonetic hurdles.
So what does this all mean? We started by talking about a $150 shark chill pill gadget with a swiveling hinge, and we ended up analyzing the muscle memory of the human tongue. I think it means that the English language, whether you were complaining about a greasy power button on a cooling fan or reporting from a university campus cafe that happens to serve grilled salmon, is fundamentally a tool for connection. But to wield that tool, to truly master it, requires extreme personal vulnerability.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. You have to be willing to sound foolish before you can sound authoritative. You have to risk saying smell when you mean small on your way to becoming a game changer in your industry.
Definitely.
The structure of Academia BSB's class notes is actually quite profound when you look at it from a distance. It moves so seamlessly from the mechanics of a tech gadget evaluating hinges, dials, and wobbly surfaces to the abstract mechanics of business figuring out how to gain traction and disrupt markets. And finally, it lands on the biological and psychological mechanics of the human mouth and mind. It's all about overcoming the fear of simply speaking out loud.
It's a complete journey from the external physical world to the internal mental world. It reminds me a bit of Pygmalion, honestly.
Oh, the George Bernard Shaw play.
Yeah, published back in 1912. The whole premise is Professor Henry Higgins, who is a phonetician, taking Eliza Doolittle and basically trying to change her entire social class and identity just by changing her vowels.
That is a brilliant connection.
Thanks. In the play, Higgins says something to the effect of, the moment an English person opens their mouth, another English person despises them. It was a critique of the British class system, of course, but it highlights exactly what Mireilly is facing. When you change how you pronounce screen versus scream, you are navigating social and professional identity.
It really is, and this raises an important question for you, the listener, one that goes far beyond just the single class note. When you take on a new language or even just a new field of study with its own jargon, are you simply swapping out labels for things you already know?
Like, is the word gato just becoming cat?
Exactly. Or, by learning a new language, are you actually constructing an entirely new version of yourself? Think about it. If you have to learn how to move your mouth in completely unfamiliar ways just to avoid telling your audience that your video smells instead of is small, and you have to adopt a totally new lexicon of spatial idioms to sound like a game changer who is ahead of the curve in a corporate boardroom, perhaps the ultimate wearable tech isn't a personal cooling fan you hang around your neck to calm your nerves.
Perhaps the ultimate wearable tech is the second language itself.
Precisely. It's a tool that entirely reshapes how you present yourself to the world, how you are perceived by others, and ultimately how you think. And it is built one terrifying, exhilarating spoken word at a time.
We are going to leave you to ponder that today. What version of yourself might you unlock if you were forced to speak your mind, share your ideas, and tell your stories through a completely different phonetic filter? Thank you for taking this deep dive with us. Remember, it is not only about the language, it is all about communication. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll catch you next time.